Welcome everyone to this part of the lecture. We previously have finished about collective bargaining or negotiation at the first lecture. At the second part of the lecture, we talked about conciliation once the collective bargaining process failed. Once collective bargaining process fails, then we go for conciliation. Again, the question comes, if the conciliation is failed, then what will be the procedure? So section 210, subsection 10 says that if the conciliation process fails, the conciliator shall try to persuade the parties to agree to refer the dispute to an arbitration. So please remember that at the first stage, they will go for collective bargaining. At the second stage, they will go for conciliation. After conciliation, they have the option to go to arbitration. This is not mandatory. Uh, After collective bargaining, going to the conciliation is a mandatory process. But if you look at the situation here, after conciliation process, it is not mandatory to go for arbitration. But after conciliation process, the conciliator shall persuade the parties to agree to refer the dispute to an arbitrator. So this is what the conciliator will be doing. Now it says that if the parties do not agree to refer the dispute to an arbitrator, and there are many reasons why parties will not agree to refer the dispute to an arbitrator, because the parties might be looking for a better procedure, formal procedure, which is the court process. So they might choose for the court process, so they will not go for arbitration. Secondly, after the collective bargaining and conciliation, the parties might not be interested to the same kind of procedure, same kind of informal or semi-informal procedure. Rather, they might think that going to the court is going to be a more viable option. So if the parties agree to refer the dispute to an arbitrator, then they shall make a joint request in writing for reference of the dispute to an arbitrator, that they have agreed to settle the dispute through arbitrator, by an arbitrator. This is what subsection 12 talks about. But before going to the arbitration, a requirement has been provided in subsection 11. So subsection 11 of section 210 says that if the parties do not agree to refer the dispute to an arbitrator, then the conciliator shall proceed with a certificate to the parties that the conciliation process has failed, and the conciliator will surely proceed or issue the certificate within 3 days of failure of conciliation proceedings. So this is the second option. There are two options, as I said. I mean, there can be three situations once the parties opt for conciliation process. At the first instance, the parties may choose to go to the choose to settle the dispute, that the conciliator approaches them and they will settle the dispute because they have understood the point the conciliator highlighted. This is one. At the second point, the parties will not be interested to go for arbitration. Rather, they will go to the court process in spite of the conciliator's approach that going to the arbitration is better. So in such situation, when they are not even agreeing to the arbitration, then the conciliator shall issue a failure certificate to the parties within 3 days of the conciliation process being failed. That, I mean, the certificate will mention that the conciliation process is failed. However, once the parties agree to refer the dispute to arbitration, then the parties shall make a request to the arbitrator. So once the parties communicated to the arbitrator the arbitrator may be a person from the panel maintained by the government or any other person agreed upon by the parties. Now, it talks about who can be the arbitrators or who are eligible to be an arbitrator. One is that government maintained a list of arbitrators, so therefore a person from that list or someone uh, who has been agreed as an arbitrator by the parties. So parties must agree to a person. That person is an arbitrator. Uh, Let us move ahead with before we conclude to arbitration, uh, we would like to go for section 211 a bit, which can be connected with section 210. So section 211 of Bangladesh Labor Act provides that the party which raised the dispute may within 15 days of the issuing a failure certificate by the conciliator either give the other party a notice of strike or lockout, as the case may be, to commence on a day not earlier than 7 days and not later than 14 days of the date of such notice to be specified therein, or make an application to the labor court for adjudication of the dispute. So section 211 is actually allowing the parties to go for strike or lockout, uh, uh, which should be continued in between certain days, uh, to commence on a day which should not be earlier than 7 days and not later than 14 days of the date of such notice to be specified therein. This is one way that the parties will opt for a strike or lockout, or the parties will make an application to the labor court for adjudication of the dispute. So what we see is that the parties opt for uh, arbitration. This is one option. Now, if they are not willing to continue with the arbitration, then they will go for either strike or lockout, or they will make an application to the labor court. So if they want to continue with the strike or lockout, then that is been provided in section 211, exactly at which time they have to start the lockout process. So provided that no collective bargaining agent shall serve any notice of strike unless 3/4 of its members have given their consent to it through a secret ballot specially held for the purpose, under the supervision of the conciliator in such manner as may be prescribed. So in order to go for strike or lockout, if it is the CBA, if it is the workers, then that strike or lockout has to be within has to be by the CBA, and the CBA must have a secret ballot about going for a strike or lockout, and if that has been supported by uh, you know by at least 75% of the CBA members, then they are eligible to go for strike or lockout. Otherwise, they cannot. And in this regard, the strike lockout related, the ballot, secret ballot election will be facilitated by the conciliator. Section 211 subsection 2 says that if a strike or lockout is started, then either of the parties to the dispute may make an application to the labor court for adjudication of the dispute. If a strike or lockout lasts for more than 30 days, the government may by order in writing prohibit the strike or lockout. So it refers that the strike or lockout, as the case may be, must not be more than 30 days. So this is what we have got here. Then a question is very cardinal, that what do you mean by strike or lockout? Okay, we'll come to that in the next part. Thank you.